Rick's music with Cheap Trick that came into my life, but I grew up in a pretty strictly Motown rhythm and blues soul home. Didn't really know much about rock and roll. And at this point, I wasn't even really on earth, but December 10th, 1967, my father and my mother, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, with me, were headed to a club in downtown Madison, Wisconsin, where I'm from, to see a show. Unfortunately, the headliner of that show died in a plane crash on his way to that show. Some of you might know who I'm talking about, but that would be Otis Redding. And he died in a plane crash in Lake Minona. And here's the thing I don't know the answer to, because my parents didn't go, and it probably was a good idea since I was coming in a month. But did you guys ever play that show? What was the name of the band that you were with at that time on the bill?
We were called the Grim Reapers, and we ended up playing that show to not a lot of people, and I was the guy that had to announce that Otis had crashed into Lake Monona. And the show must go on.
Yes.
And it was like, you know, he was like 27 years old or 20, it's like, and I think I was about the same age. I was like, yeah, about 20 or something years old, and it was like, my father was a singer. We traveled all around the world, or the United States, Canada, Mexico, but and then later in Europe and stuff like that. But the show must go on, and it had to go on, and music kept going, and Otis's music still plays to this day. You know, I think you should get a different pilot.
Do you think? Yeah. 18 years later, Cheap Trick re-entered my life. It was the summer before my senior year in high school. Everyone was excited that summer to go somewhere to watch a concert that had never been done before called Live Aid. Well, most of us couldn't afford to go to Philadelphia or to London, but I chose to go to Milwaukee. And on that night was the first night I got to see Rick Nielsen and Cheap Trick perform live on the shores of Lake Michigan. That was also the summer that a song came out that actually I used as one of the first opportunities to be a DJ at a school dance at Madison East High School. It was a song called, It Just Ran From Me. It's from Standing on the Edge.
I don't know.
It would have been Tonight It's You.
Oh,
Tonight It's You. That was the first song I remember playing at a school dance, and actually got a lot of people to dance to that song. Oh my gosh, this is how I'm getting introduced to rock and roll. And then after falling in love with that album, I went backwards and heard everything else. So that's my story that gets me to here.
I've gone backwards too. Many times. Yeah, well, thanks, Steve. I guess you owe me your career.
Pretty much.
But I don't want your career. Although as charmed as it is.
It led me to here. This is a pretty special opportunity for me today, which is why I can't seem to keep any moisture in my mouth. Now, let me introduce you to
You were in Colorado lately, have you?
No, gosh, no. But, Dan, I put a couple bottles of water on the floor back here. Could I have one of those?
It looks like gin to me.
Or a gallon? That would be great. All right, let's begin by introducing you to these 6 students that will be...
Oh, I like the guy in the tie already. I think I like all of them.
You had success with an international career, and you're especially popular in Japan and Australia. How did that happen?
Good question. Let's see. In Japan, this is a true story. In 1977, we got asked to open for Queen, the first 2 shows of the '77 tour, and our record wasn't even out yet in '77. But the guys in Queen had heard our record. You know, they'd heard it and they liked us. And it was supposed to be Thin Lizzy. They did the rest of the tour with them, but we got asked to do it because they liked our music. And we were totally unknown except for playing in bars and around. But we'd made our first record in '76, but it still wasn't out. We made it in New York. And I think maybe they heard it in New York at the record plant where we recorded with Jack Douglas. And so we went and we did a show in Madison, we did a show in Milwaukee. And at that show, or those shows, there was a lot of Japanese press there. And the Japanese, they were there to see Queen, obviously. But they liked us. They liked us at both shows. And after the shows, they said, "Oh, we would like Rick's on. Rick's on." I like that right away. Anyhow, Rick's on. We'd like to. We don't know about Cheap Trick. Would you like to write an article? I mean, you're playing with Queen. I mean, what an honor. Yeah, sure. It It's for a magazine called Umgang Senka, and I can still pronounce it right. And then right after, about a month or two later, we started getting fan mail with little caricatures of ourselves in a lot of fan mail. That if anybody went to Rick's Picks, you got to see some of the mail that I didn't answer. I answered a few of them, but we started getting that, and then we started getting the Japanese magazines, and so then we were getting fan mail for, our record wasn't even, by then it came out. And also in 1977, we were asked to tour with KISS, because they saw us at Max's Kansas City in New York. There were about 20 people there to see us Thursday night at Max's Kansas City in New York City. With no record out, but Gene and Paul had heard about us, and actually I jumped on the table where Gene was sitting, and I ate a $20 bill that he had on the table, and he later said that it was a $100 bill. So if you know Gene, he exaggerates a little bit. I exaggerated that I ate the bill because I was, trying to make an impression on the man, because I knew he was a little money hungry. And so I think he liked us after that, and they asked us to tour with them in 1977. So we did 3 months touring with KISS all around the United States and Canada. And once again, the Japanese press was there, and they started writing about us too. Gene, we'd get better reviews than KISS did. He says, yeah, but we filled the place up. Okay, whatever. And so we started getting more press and more fan mail, and before you knew it, our first hit, we had 3 #1 hit songs in Japan before we had any hits here. And my quote is, the Budokan made us famous, and we made the Budokan famous. So keep buying those Japanese records.
Now before, I want to introduce the crowd to all of the students here before you go, and
so that's one question.
Yes, that's one. See, now
80 questions here.
He has so many great stories, and a lot of these questions will get answered that you guys have on your list, so I want to be able to go through some of the best questions that you asked, but first, I want everybody here to know who you are. So and I don't have...
Oh, excuse me, Steve. I think maybe we should go back to the one question each guy.
You got it? Okay. All right, Travis Phillips. Travis Phillips, could you stand? Travis Phillips is 18. He is he plays guitar and he sings here at the Academy. He's been here for 8 years. And punk rock is a form of music, a genre of music that he